once a week we get a chance to go deep down the rabbit hole and really take a look around. But it's a guided tour. It's kind of like one time we were in Rome, and they take you through all the buildings. You have the headset on, and somebody's kind of leading you through and walking you through
all
it.
about
That's
it.
what this is, and that things you even had heard of and knew, but they give you the background behind it. And that's what we do each week with the one, the only Mel K.
Yay! Woo!
My favorite show of the week. How you doing, guys?
Oh, so excited. So excited to have you here. We always love learning from you.
I love talking to you because a lot of times I try to bring what isn't being said. A lot of people are talking about what I'm talking about today. I did it briefly the other day, a little bit into it, and I know I've been working with Clay on it, but there's a lot more to what's going on with Executive Order 14067
Yes.
that people need to understand, because here's where we have to really get, I think, what's going on here is our country has been usurped. Okay. I fully believe that a bunch of oligarchies, billionaires, trillionaires, because they're excellent at putting their money offshore. They're excellent at putting their money in foundations and trusts and whatever. They're trillionaires and billionaires. They're associated with Davos and with the Council of Foreign Relations and with, the IMF and the UN. They all meet together all over the world, and Jackson Hole next week, or in Sun Valley, or wherever they go, Austria, Geneva, Brussels. But the truth is that they're a very small group of people, about 3,000 at the very top. And the problem is that this executive order is really about the Great Reset. It is no different than everything we've been talking about. It is the exact same people involved in pushing it. It is coming from the Davos World Economic Forum. You guys know I talk about it all the time. I believe that the entire government in the vassal state known as the District of Columbia, which is completely, because they are a vassal state, thrown our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and the rule of law in the garbage can for their overlords in the Great Reset World Economic Forum Davos land, which is really, really run by a bunch of private central bankers, which is what this is about.
So, tell the audience real quick, grab a pen and paper. We usually take 10 to 12. When I say we, I mean Stacy takes 10, 12 pages of notes.
I even grabbed extra today because I knew that
we've seen the images and things that go into this. We've bounced around it on different economic updates and different things. But this executive order and the things coming out, it's mind blowing. And we're going to reveal the who's who in the zoo, give you headlines and images. Two things you need to know as we go into this, how you can track these sources. One, you go to themelkshow.com. When you go to themelkshow.com, you can register for her newsletter. We are heavily censored. We're heavily censored. Mel is heavily censored. And so when she's scrubbed from different platforms, and they try to erase her and silence her, you can continue to get this information directly from the horse's mouth. No offense. Go to themelkshow.com, register for the newsletter, because then the information can come directly to you. You cut out a lot of the middlemen and you get access to that. Register for the newsletter. It's free. The second thing you want to do is go to the resources section. When you go to the resources section, everything she's been accumulating, she keeps the receipts. She documents them. She puts them there. So your brother-in-law might bring up some weird topic and you're like, I don't know. That's too dark to be true. Is it real? And MK Ultra. And you go, and then you go there in the resources section. She has the research. It's unbelievable. You can just go there. It's free. Or I always give her the option, because you want options. This is America. You should be free. If the government doesn't treat you like you have a brain, I will. You could take the next decade off and spend 12 hours a day and do all of this on your own.
Yep. This is your shortcut.
Or if you don't have a decade to blow, go to themelkshow.com and it's all right there. Every week she sends us images, way more than we ever have a chance to even get into during the show. A lot of them are newspaper headlines. She reads newspapers from around the world. She reads the Italian papers and Australian papers, and she looks at our country from the outside in to get multiple perspectives. And so if you want those images, you can text us at 40509, the word Mel, M-E-L, 40509, the word Mel, and you get all of those images that come in a Dropbox link, and then kind of go on your own deep dives, but you can capture the facts, because this is a war, and our ammo, our bullets here are ideas and our thoughts, and you put a truth next to a lie, the truth will win, but it helps if you have the receipts, and that's what she provides.
Whew, that was good.
Yeah, and on those images, two things you should be doing with them if you are downloading them. One is you should be using them as memes on all social media, because the headlines speak for themselves. Two, because the links are too hefty for everyone to download. All you have to do is cut and paste the headline of the thing into your browser, and you're going to find that article.
Yep.
And that's really what's important here, because it is unbelievable. I did see, looking around when I was doing research for this last week, a couple people out there, I don't know them, that have shows still on YouTube. God bless them. That's not going to be happening for long, folks. Also, not just me. Anyone that you follow, please go and sign up for their .tv, their newsletter, and everything else. YouTube is about to crack down like we've never seen yet. A lot of the big people who survived, because they're making YouTube a lot of money, I would say the biggest of the big that have the millions of followers on YouTube are in danger right now. And that means the little guy is as well. Twitter has been found out to be a complete and total security nightmare for anyone on there. They are going to be exposed big time for being basically a spy agency within. So, and they also, the guy that's running Twitter now, we'll talk about it at a different time, is very aligned with the World Economic Forum. So, Twitter has become a spy tool, and none of your information is safe there, just like it's not at Facebook. And
it's mostly bots.
Yeah.
Anywhere else. Very bad, folks.
Fake.
TikTok.
Yeah.
The stuff I'm finding out about TikTok is a very dangerous spy weapon, and the Biden administration just enlisted TikTok and ByteDance to help them in the run up to the election of 2022. So, and I know at the pit, Greg Phillips talked about it, TikTok and its connection to the CCP. That's really a CCP spying tool under the guise of cute little videos. That is what it is. And they are very involved, apparently, with the Biden administration, and have something to do with the upcoming election. So just really watch yourselves. We talked about it last week on the show, how they are tracking and tracing everyone through everything.
You gotta be smart today, guys. I mean, seriously, this isn't just turn on your TV and just gobble up whatever. You have to own your faith. You better own your kids' education if you care about them at all. You better be protecting them. You better own your finances. You better own these important, your health. All these categories. You got to take personal responsibility. And today we're talking about the banking industry, which might be the
worst.
The worst. I mean, worse than Big Pharma. Worse than some of these things, because they've been manipulating and messing with the dials behind the scenes for a long time, and it's not in your favor. Keeping the world poor and enslaved, that is their objective when they wake up in the morning. And we're going to show you how they do it and why they're doing it today, just with the glimpses we've seen with what Mel's going to share.
Yeah, and I just want to, the architects of all of this are obviously Rockefeller, Kissinger, the Crown, Brzezinski, the original, people who plan this out, Kagan. There's a bunch of people that are really at the top here. All the people from the original Council of Foreign Relations, the World Economic Forum, obviously Klaus Schwab, his mentors, Kissinger and Weiss. But don't forget that Kissinger said, and we should think about this now because they are at the end game. COVID was the beginning, and I believe this digital currency, CBDC, and the digital wallet, which is more of what this is about. And we'll get there in a second. Kissinger said famously, who controls the food supply controls the people. Who controls the energy can control the whole continent. He who controls the money controls the world. And this is how they constructed this, all the way back to the founding of the UN and to the founding of the Council of Foreign Relations and the founding of the Trilateral Commission and the founding of the World Economic Forum and the founding of all of it goes to these men that said that. The Club of Rome, which is where all of the climate stuff comes from. So we really have to remember that this is a long game. They've been playing it for about 50 years. I believe Hillary Clinton was supposed to end it for America. She was going to play right into the globalist hand with her billions of dollars of money she took in at the Clinton Foundation that she's still not been held accountable before. But I love the Clinton Foundation whistleblower guys. So hopefully they'll have their day in court. They're still fighting to get the info out. But anyway, this executive order is not something to say. See, it's funny. I saw somebody's show. I never heard of them, but they were saying that there's all this alarm about Executive Order 14067, and he said this will never happen in America. Well, if this was 5 years ago, you might say this will never happen in America. Right. In 2022, anything can happen in America because we have been infiltrated and usurped by a foreign entity that is controlled by international, multinational corporation boards, by central banking cabal, and by people that believe that they are superior to us, the useless eaters, as Kissinger refers to us as, and so has Klaus Schwab, by the way.
Yep.
We know Harari last week caught on video saying we don't need most of the people in the world. They're redundant, especially with AI and technology. We don't know what we're going to do with them. They talk about that there is no God, there is no free will. They're yesterday, 2 days ago, it came out that they are full on talking about creating human cyborgs out loud at the World Economic Forum because they no longer need humans. Okay.
Wow.
Everything they talk about with the natural resources, they propose this. I think the big treason really happened at the COP26 in Glasgow, when 800 people, including Kerry and Biden and Bloomberg and all the 800 people from the Biden regime went to Glasgow to the COP26 climate summit and basically pledged allegiance to the Build Back Better, one world government situation, and also to something called the natural asset class, which connects to this, which is a proposal by these people, including everyone that we're talking about, that the group of people that run Davos, the IMF, the World Bank, and the UN seize all of the assets planet-wide having to do with natural resources, and that they then control all natural resources. I'm talking Africa, South America, North America, Asia, Europe. This group of banking cabal and multinational stakeholders would then control all human resources, including water, land, food, technology, cyberspace, oceans. And basically, we would be told by them how to live, what to live, which connects to the central bank digital currency and the digital wallet. And we would rent from them natural resources as needed. Also, in the Build Back Better bill that was just passed, which is a total affront to all American taxpayers, because it's going to be $700 billion in new taxes, not to the U.S. government, first of all. It is going towards all of these. If you read the bill, it is going to a bunch of different contracts, studies, companies, most of them connected to the partners of the World Economic Forum. And they are all about improving the man-made climate change. Now, if you look at the 10,000 scientists that have come out against their hypotheses, they're saying there's many other factors other than man. But if man-made climate change is real, the two things man is doing to create such a thing would be war, which we're in 5 of them right now, not 1, and the manufacturing of weapons, and on top of that, multinational corporations and refinery of the resources that they're usurping all over the world. So the whole fallacy is BS. But that natural asset class thing that they came up with in Glasgow is $130 billion profit for these people. So, you really have to keep that in mind. So I'm getting to the bill now. So basically, I'm a big fan of Rich Dad Kiyosaki. And I know Jim Rickards is out there, who worked for the Pentagon and for Reagan and all kinds of people. They're saying this is straight up communism. This is like the end of freedom. Everything we've been talking about, we talked about on the last show and other times. So what people need to know if they're listening online is that this was signed in March without any fanfare. Nobody covered it in the media. It went right under the radar, and nobody in Congress, nobody was involved in this. It was a straight up executive order dictate. And basically what is going on is that they put in this executive order called Ensuring Responsible Development of Digital Assets. Again, this has nothing to do technically with cryptocurrency, except for that they want to end cryptocurrency because they don't control it. But I do believe that the people involved in that are on their own blockchain, and God willing have things in place. But don't think the IRS and the SEC and all these people aren't being mandated to go after them to get the money. All of this is about our government being broke. Okay.
Mel, let me ask you a question. I heard a few years ago, like roughly 3% of all the money that existed was actually, you could touch it. It was in cash or in a bank. So I don't know exactly what the number is, but if every American went to the bank and took out $500, Could they do that? I mean, or if I don't know, maybe it's 1,000, whatever it is, maybe it's 300, maybe it's $100. But if you wanted to actually touch it like this and bring it home and put it in your shoebox and say, okay, this is my nest egg. I'm going to hide it in the mattress, that you could touch. It just isn't there. It doesn't exist. They just keep adding zeros in the computer. So they have to do something to sort of reconcile the fact of, we got this vault back here, but it's full of IOUs, kind of like Dumb and Dumber. It's like, $350,000 for a Ferrari. Oh no, I'd hold on to that.
I'd hold on to that one.
I'd hold on to that one. Hey, they're just same as cash. They're just as good as cash. IOUs. I mean, there's nothing in the vault. It's just
no. And the problem
cloud.
is, like I said earlier, they used Madoff as some kind of, and I'll get into what happened back then, but they used Madoff as some kind of, look at this evil guy. And he hurt a lot of people, especially very wealthy people, because he kept his circles tight. And people started to talk. My dad was down there in Palm Beach when it imploded down there, and people lost everything all over the world, all over the country. But what happened was people started to talk about that his returns made no sense. And one person after another started asking for their money. And too many people asked for their money at the same time. He had to admit it was a Ponzi scheme.
Yep, it's just a big confidence game.
So in my opinion, the Great Reset and the climate emergency and the COP26 and the carbon credit score and the Build Back Better bill and all of this is about money. It is about that their monetary system has failed. They need to recreate it. And the biggest part about this digital asset thing that people should be upset about is they will hide all their crimes. Okay. Because you're never going to know. Because I truly believe, I did a whole show on it 3 years ago, that the Bank of International Settlements, which is the main Rothschild bank in Switzerland, that will be controlling the central bank digital currency, folks, privately. They control all the Western central banks. They control the entire, if you look up all the Rothschild-owned banks, the City of London, you're going to be like, wait a minute, something's very wrong here, the IMF. But the bottom line is that I believe, and I've estimated, I did a whole show with a couple different people that are really brilliant, that the taxpayers of this country and basically the world have lost about $23 quadrillion worth of money laundering, theft, our taxes not going where they're supposed to go, to projects all over the world, to these people usurping companies and resources and going into foreign countries and overthrowing governments. If you really put together all the taxpayer dollars that have been since the Federal Reserve came into play, I think the American taxpayers and taxpayers worldwide have been looted to the amount of money that is incomprehensible to understand. The problem is that if they kick into the central bank digital currency, all of their financial crimes are wiped away. Okay. Because they control the algorithm.
Yep.
Where is it? It's in the cloud. Where's the cloud? It's gone.
Yeah.
All of it's going to be wiped
Makes
away,
sense.
which is why you guys and me were so into gold. So this is the first thing you need to know about.
Public service announcement real quick. This is a bonus feature. There's no charge for this. This is an extra thing. I'm going to slip in here, and I try to do every chance I get. If you're a part of Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, just leave. If we all did that, we win tomorrow. Just that we can all do. I know it's too hard to get rid of Amazon because it's so convenient and your information's there and you don't have to enter I know that's too hard, but you could leave Bank of America. You could leave Chase. You could leave Wells Fargo. We do that. I guarantee they're going to fall to their knees and say they're sorry. That's just a beginning. That's just one thing everybody could do easily by tomorrow.
Yeah. And the problem with Amazon, though, is not Amazon services. It's not their stores or Whole Foods or their new pharmacy. The problem with Amazon is that their cloud servers are used by our government. Yep. So everything they have the contract for the government's cloud-based data and servers. You got to remember, Bezos has a lot of contracts with the U.S. government. As does Gates, as does Schmidt, Fink is running our economy, and he's the head of the World Economic Forum Great Reset, the creator of the ESG score. He's on the Council of Foreign Relations, which I will tell you right now, people need to start looking at what they are and why they're there and what they do and how much power they have, because I believe they have more power than any person in Washington D.C. right now.
Yeah.
And guess who's on the board there? Fink. Yeah. And he's a CEO of a company that controls 90% of the S&P 500 companies and the media. They are the
Unbelievable.
biggest owner of the New York Times. And who else? There's something very wrong with this situation. And I'm telling you, all of them in there a lot of people in the Biden regime are full on BlackRock. They are. They came through one way or another. But let's get back to this.
All
So
right.
anyway, this bill says, and again, this bill is in cahoots with two things that also passed under the guise of COVID. HR 6666, which is a full track and trace surveillance model with QR codes that include all of your information, including your health information. This is tied into this because this isn't what this is going to be is a digital wallet that was proposed, created by the IMF and the World Economic Forum and the central banking cabal. It is being proposed in all the countries that have the Build Back Better bill, which is essentially written by them. And what it says in this is, now it claims to be everything that they do, the overlords, the puppet masters that our government is facilitating for them, is supposedly for our own good, to protect us or all of that. I'm telling you, within a month, they're going to say that because of monkeypox, we can't touch dollars or change anymore.
They already are. I mean, Mel, we were flying out to Rochester, New York a couple weekends ago, and we stopped by the SkyCap for our luggage, and it had their no money, not at all.
No physical currency.
You couldn't use any physical currency, nothing at all.
In Kansas City.
No tip, nothing.
This isn't LA.
Wow.
This is part of it. This is what they're doing. They're forcing it. And then also, if you're not on benefits right now of any kind, you don't know that they are really, really pushing the universal basic income. If you're wondering why nobody's working, you do not know that that's happening. Also here in New York, right across the street from me, the Catholic Charities is processing illegal immigrants every day, giving them Medicaid cards, food cards with $500 on them, which will be refilled, housing, and universal basic income. So, and then at the same time, we've already given $50 billion to Ukraine, and Joe Biden's going to send another 800 this week, million. So, and I'll get into why Ukraine's part of this too in a second. So what this says for anyone listening, it says, ensuring responsible development of digital assets aimed at responsible development and developing policy plans and the organization of federal regulators. Okay. So now think about this. It says any future dollar payment system should be designed in a way that is consistent with United States priorities. Which United States priorities? A woke ESG, World Economic Forum, Great Reset cabal that is running DC right now? Or of we the people of the United States that believe in life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and inalienable rights? No, it's not us. It's them.
Yep.
Just like everything that the fact checkers and all these people do. They are pushing a narrative. They are pushing a false truth, 1984 style, Big Brother nonsense. But this is what it says. It says it's also to protect democratic values, including privacy protections and ensuring the global financial system has appropriate transparency, connectivity, and platform and infrastructure, interpolarity, and transferability as appropriate. Now, it sounds a little cuckoo, but then when you look at the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the UN, the World Economic Forum, and the Bank of International Settlements, they're all saying that this is not only what they're doing, but that they've done it.
Mm-hmm.
And that they're all in on it, and that it is all going at the very top through the central bank in Switzerland. And what it is also saying is that they would be, that this central bank digital currency, which would be, you would have to download, like the QR code, onto your device. They're hoping at some point into your body, which they're already talking about. And real lunatic woke nutcases all over the world. I was talking to somebody from Sweden, great lady, you should have her on. And there's kids putting chips under their skin. And this is being pushed by the World Economic Forum.
Having parties to do it.
And this is full track and trace surveillance, and they can manipulate your brain with all this stuff too, folks. There's frequency involved. This is very advanced stuff. You just listen to Noah Harari. He's telling you the truth. So also, all of this would be run by an algorithm. Well, we also heard Harari say that algorithms will be controlled by the people who create the algorithm in Davos. Mm-hmm. So again, none of this will have anything to do with AR. It usurps our government completely. Okay, so the Congress, law, all of it, they're going to do what the CBD, what the central banks say.
The Federal Reserve idiots. All useless
the Federal
idiots.
Reserve is owned by them. So the Federal Reserve, which should be demolished, it is unconstitutional, and it is the amount of money we've been looted by them, and their paper printing money is unbelievable. The Federal Reserve also controls the IRS, and so it says on this is a solution for money, which has worked just fine for hundreds of years, compared to credit cards and debit cards. And it's also good for the climate, apparently. So this is very good for the climate. And depending on specific details of how they are configured, central bank digital currency and some kinds of crypto assets can be more energy efficient than much of the current payment landscape, including credit and debit cards. So they're going to do all of this under the guise of being helpful for us. And, of course. But I do want to say, and I'm not an expert on this, but I have been digging into this, and I realize that it's a big scale plan. It is part of the Great Reset. I know we did a show once where I told you about that there was they do every year. It's coming up next week, and Powell is supposed to speak at it in Jackson Hole. But 6 months before COVID broke out, Larry Fink made a speech in Jackson Hole at their annual financial billionaire conference. And he said that they were going to start going direct to this is before COVID, folks. They were going to start going direct to the people. The CARES Act had a huge bailout for all the big banks, including BlackRock. They started setting up this buyback program and everything, and something called going direct, which if you look at it, it kind of means the private Western Central Bank and their stakeholder public-private partnership are going direct to the people, skipping the government, skipping who works for them now. Quite honestly, folks, we have an oligarchy running this country, a foreign one, by the way, a foreign and aligned, and it also skips all legal precedent, the Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our inalienable rights to privacy, and to live our lives as we see fit and spend our money as we see fit. But what I'm looking at here, and anyone that is an expert in this or knows anything about it, please email me my whistleblower choice on my website. Because I think that this whole thing was planned prior to the crash of 2008. And I really think that I'm not an expert on this. I do know a lot of people who lost a lot. Rob and his brother at a small bank that they were actually giving loans to small businesses in the area to help them grow in tech. Something happened in 2008, and it is not what we think, because as I'm digging into this, what I'm finding is that really it's back to Obama in 2008. Now don't forget, so I fully believe that Bush's, Clinton, and Obama are all in a uniparty, globalist, New World Order group. I don't believe that. I believe we've been greatly deceived from the beginning of the UN and all of this. That's my belief. You can believe what you want. That's what I take from my research. And what I want to say is I think that the 2008 was a manipulated takedown of all private financing, putting it into just like they're doing now, consolidating all the money into a one world banking conglomerate run by the central banks and the public-private partnership stakeholders. But what happened was when everything happened, Obama came out saying that he was going to do all this stuff, and Rob and thousands of banks all over the country, they were too small to save. Somehow all the big private Western Central banks and Rothschild banks were too big to fail. And Obama,
boy, that's a great way to put that.
Obama and them bailed them all out. Now, who was the architect of that bailout? His name is Brian Deese.
Man, have we heard that name before? Wow.
Who just told us from BlackRock.
Yep.
He structured the bailout for the banks. And he was at BlackRock. He's also behind the ESG score with Fink. He's also running our economy into the ground on purpose right now. Controlled
He's
demolition.
One who's famous on the quote of, he's on the newscast recently. We've cut it up and put it out a dozen times, but the global what they call the financial new world order is his quote.
The liberal world order. They manipulated that. It's really one world government, but they keep changing the name because people keep finding out. And don't forget, we're seeing the UN, the World Economic Forum, the IMF, and all of the media start to really get crazy about misinformation, disinformation. No, it's because too much real information is coming out, not just in America. Billions of people in the world are onto this. So we got to be on the front lines. So something happened in 2008. There was a bailout of only these banks that would be involved in the central bank digital currency and the big financial firms. Look at how much they had in 2008 and where they are now, especially BlackRock. So he put in something called the Financial Regulatory Reform, a new foundation, rebuilding financial supervision and regulation. Obama put it in June 17th, 2009. And if you go through this whole thing, really what it's saying over and over is international reforms, including greater oversight of global financial markets and more thorough control for G20 countries to cooperate in regulating transnational companies. This, and then it goes on to say, more can be done and should be done in the future to have international companies all aligned. It says, Michael Hudson at the time wrote, instead of real financial reform, Obama's plan capitulates to Wall Street. And it goes on to say that it appears that everything that he was doing, and again, there's other people involved here. It says that there's no mention of corporate governance within the large banks that failed. It says that basically that these banks from this point on can operate in whatever manner they see fit. Nobody went to jail. Nobody got in trouble. None of these banks were penalized. In fact, they were bailed out to the tune of billions of dollars of taxpayer money. But it also, in this thing Obama put through, has compensation for themselves, treats board of directors as basically equal to the government. And it goes on to say that there's actually an article written by a woman named Ellen Brown, people should check out, called The Tower of Basel. Basel is the Bank of International Settlements. Do we really want the Bank of International Settlements issuing our global currency? This article is from 2009 during the bailout. And it goes through a clause in point 19 of this bailout, this thing Obama put through, said G20 leaders amount to the revolution in the global financial order. We have agreed to support a general SDR, special drawing rights, allocation, which will inject $250 billion into the world economy and increase global liquidity through the International Monetary Fund. G20 leaders activated the IMF powers to create money internationally under one umbrella. And it basically says that in this 2009 bailout, while we were all dealing with our own lives falling apart and our houses going into foreclosure and our businesses closing and our retirement gone, Obama and the Bank of International Settlements and groups in the private Western central banks of America, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, Japan, and Britain, we are all the same people that are involved in the war in Ukraine right now somehow.
Yes.
What are the odds of that?
That they got together back then and decided that they were going towards a world central bank not digital yet, global currency controlled by a 55-member nation private group at the Bank of International Settlements. So, these are groups that are hidden. JFK told us about the secret societies and these secret groups and what's going on. But I am telling you right now, anyone watching this out there that has any information on this, the American people need to know what happened in 2008 and if it was a trigger for what we're doing now, because guess what happened right after then? So that happens in 2009.
Okay.
Right? 2010, all under Obama, folks. Okay. Whatever you think of Obama, please go watch Joel Gilbert's Real Stories of My Father or read Jack Cashell's books about who Obama really is, because it goes way deeper. We talked about on the climate show, he was a lawyer in Chicago when he was involved in Chicago Climate Conference that was involved in the carbon credit the carbon credit thing that somehow Clinton and Gore were doing, and Obama's involved. Obama was involved with Lugar in putting in the first bioweapon lab in Ukraine. Why is he everywhere?
Yep.
So it appears that he's also involved in 2009 in transferring the beginning of the transfer of all of the wealth in the world into the hands of a very small group of people that no longer hide and are pushing a great reset for humanity now. So I think they needed the technology to catch up, but this was apparently, it looks like a first step. 2010.
Gotta wake up, guys. You gotta own this information. You can't just be sitting there at home and like, oh, J-Lo and freaking Ben Affleck, gobble, gobble, gobble. Like, wake up. Wake up. They're keeping you distracted with circuses and bread while they're ruining your life.
And your kids' future.
Yeah, if you don't care about your life, your kids are going to live in it. We have to wake up. It's up to us. Now, there may be somebody coming to save you, but in the meantime, you got to do what you can. We got to do what we can. Mel's got to do what she can. You can't just sit there, yum, 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 and what's going on with freaking, the UK, their kids that quit and came over here, going to be famous. Like all this junk. Like we have got to participate in our own clawing our way out of this thing. We got to call these guys out. You got to break away from them.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And so back in that 2009, the Financial Stability Forum established the Financial Stability Board. Now, again, this is all through the central bank, but it's the G20 nations. Well, didn't Klaus Schwab tell us in 2009-10 that he had infiltrated all the G20 nation leaders with young global leaders?
Yep.
Bragged about it.
Klaus Schwab also started the World Economic Forum the same year that Nixon went off the gold standard.
71.
Who worked with Nixon, Kissinger. Yeah. Kissinger saying, if you control the money, you control the world. He has been the mentor to the World Economic Forum, the World Bank. He is also the first person that's brought the CCP into play. And don't forget, Larry Fink and BlackRock somehow are the only American company with the blessing to do business in the
and who has Schwab bragged about was the hardest working member of the World Economic Forum. Who's the biggest contributor?
Joe Biden. So and this
you're being played, guys. You are being played.
A lot of this has to do what's going on in Ukraine right now too, I believe. But I have to tell you that so what we do need to know is that back then, in this article that came out in 2009 that was really shared everywhere, and a lot of people, MIT, Harvard, all different people are also on the side of evil, but some of them are on the side of good. At least they still were then. But all coming out with scenarios saying that back then under Obama, they were trying to pull off a private global dictatorship by creating global crisis, appointing an advisory body not elected by the people, put in place to maintain some kind of stability, formalizing the advisory body through a global regulator such as the UN as a coup over all nations. 2009. So 2010 is when Davos puts out their manifesto for a reimagined world. The Rockefeller Institute puts out their manifesto, Operation Lockstep, we know it as in our world. Also in 2010, also comes into effect Agenda 21, which is now, because of Trump, I believe, Agenda 2030.
Yep.
At the same time, the whole climate reorganization comes into play. And all of these people, the IMF, the World Bank, the UN, all in 2010 are talking about reimagining the economy of the world. A lot of it under climate change. Now, at this time also, the World Health Organization is restructured. And it was in 2008 when Kofi Annan said in a speech, which everyone should look at, that he no longer believed that the original dictate and why the UN was established worked, and that he would have to go to a public-private stakeholder partnership with the people in Davos in order to make the UN more efficient. So anyone that's confused about the long game here needs to really look at that, because if you're going to look it up, we're going to see that the Western Central Bank is pushing the central bank digital currency that is actually planned by the World Economic Forum. So at the World Economic Forum 22, they were all there and talking about openly the Western central bank digital currency, central bank digital currency. But this was all run by Klaus Schwab. And everything that they're saying was discussed. They gamed it all out. So they have many documents on the World Economic Forum website about the transition to a central bank digital currency, central bank track and trace, a digital wallet connected to ESG score, connected to also social governance, which would be, on top of that, as terrifying as that sounds, because what they're also saying is that it would be used as a monitor for energy consumption, carbon consumption, and that it would also be a mechanism to also, just like in China, because it's created by the exact same people as China, surprisingly enough, that it would also be a behavioral modification tool for humanity. So that people
come out. Stacey, would you like your behavior modified by a global elite?
No, thank you.
You'd be opposed to that?
I would be opposed to anybody modifying.
She doesn't want me modifying her behavior.
Let alone the government.
Yeah, exactly.
Let alone Klaus Schwab.
Let alone Klaus Schwab.
So it's scary because not just there, but the World Economic Forum and the UN also unveiled the Global Governance Consortium for Digital Currencies this year. And all of this stuff was in the play, but it all got published right after Biden won.
Wow.
Okay. Interesting.
So, or not one, but one.
Yeah, exactly.
Was selected.
Yeah.
Look at the dates on everything.
Yeah.
January 2021. All of this stuff. You think that they didn't have all this ready to go?
It was ready.
When Trump told us that the Paris Climate Accords was the biggest money laundering scam on the planet, and he was pulling out of it, just like NAFTA and everything else. He wanted to pull out of the World Health Organization, or he did, but wanted to pull out of NATO, wanted to do all this. It's because he knows that this one world government is going into full auto drive, and they don't care if we don't want it. But they're going to care because enough of us are awake now. Look at how many people are in that room right there, okay? Well, Klaus Schwab told them that they are running the world. They are going to decide the future. They are going to control humanity. And they are going to be the only ones left that are still pure blood humans that can use anything on the planet and live the way they want.
Those that's the elites right there. Yeah.
Yep.
We're the hackable animals.
Yeah. So don't even stop there. The United Nations announces Secretary General appoints high-level panel on international digital cooperation and digital currency monitoring.
Ooh.
So if anyone thinks that this is a United States authored bill, that is not so, because the next thing that this is a part of is unfortunately happening right now going into effect in Canada. Canada and Australia, I feel for those people, and we are fighting for them too, because they have been completely captured by the international banking cabal, World Economic Forum, UN overtakers, puppet masters. So the digital ID that is part of this, we talked about it last week. I think you have a slide of the digital identity model that will include everything. So this digital currency, again, is programmable tokens. It is not like cryptocurrency. Their plan also, when they put it into effect in March, it was distributed to several agencies for comment. The agencies that it was distributed to for comment happened to be the NSA, the IRS, the Department of Justice, the FDA, all the people that we've dealt with during COVID.
Yep.
For some reason, all these people had a say on this executive order and are giving in what they believe are the things that need to be a part of it to work for their agency. It's all going to be coordinated through the NSA.
Wow.
So the National Security Agency suggests that the growth of digital assets be viewed more as a threat than an opportunity, and therefore they need to oversee it. So the National Security Agency, that we know from millions of people, including Trump and Snowden, that are already spying on all of us and have decided most of us are domestic terrorists who love America, God, country, and freedom, will be overseeing the central bank digital currency enforcement, along with the Department of Justice. Other people that were asked to be involved in the development of the central bank digital currency in Executive Order 14067 were the Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, that's Blinken and Yellen, Secretary of Defense, that's Austin, the Attorney General, the Secretary of Commerce, that would be, I believe, Deese, the Secretary of Energy, Secretary of Homeland Security, which is doing a great job at the border, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Director of Budget Management, the Director of National Intelligence, the Domestic Policy Council, and a bunch of NGOs and financial institutions.
That are all waking up in the morning. How can we serve the people better?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're all involved in developing the central bank digital currency.
Can we just throw in also, too, at the same time, increasing the number of IRS agents
to 87,000
to more than what would fill an NFL stadium on a game day, and arming them.
Yeah,
which is odd timing of all this, because people usually don't freely give over all their stuff.
Nope.
No,
communism and hostile takeovers only work at the end of a gun, so you have to have accountants with guns. Duh.
Right. And then they're also including a bunch of executives and agencies that are not involved with our government, which should tell you everything you need to know, including the IMF and the World Bank and the Bank of International Settlements. But the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, which is a private institution, the Fed, God, I look back and I wish Ron Paul won. He would have destroyed the Fed.
Does he look smarter every day or what?
He does.
You know, he walked away, if you guys recall, because he wanted his son to be able to run someday. Hello, let's go back.
Yeah, let's go back.
If he just did what he wanted to do with the Federal Reserve, we would be nowhere close to these people usurping. They wouldn't have been able to usurp our country. Federal Trade Commission, SEC, the DTCC, which is the clearinghouse for the Wall Street Bank exchange. Also, it focuses on consumer and investor protection, financial stability, illicit activity, U.S. competitive on global stage, financial inclusion and equity, and responsible innovation. Again, as deemed by the World Economic Forum, the ESG score folk, and the Great Reset folk. Not we the people. Totally, this is putting in all the woke stuff, all that. You brought up the IRS. Something really, really scary about this is I fully believe the IRS agents that have been hired, if you look at everything, because what they're actually doing there with all that money, and it's in some of this stuff, is they are changing the IRS to an algorithm. So once they connect the IRS and the Fed, skip our private banks, go right to the central bank digital currency track and trace model, which on this digital wallet will also be your vaccine status as put in HR 6666, which is attached to this. The vaccine status is in this executive order as being part of this. So on top of that, all of your health records, your license and your passport would also be, you would have to download all this stuff into one digital wallet. Your bills, your expenses, from buying a pack of gum to buying a house, to getting loans, to insurance, all controlled by an algorithm. You know, an algorithm that, like Harari says, it's the people that control the algorithm that control it. So remember, there's a clip of Harari saying, well, you could be turned down for credit in the future when the ESG social credit score and a digital wallet is put in. And the person that turns you down won't know why, because it could be anything, because it's an algorithm. Well, what it appears, if anyone's smarter than me can figure this out, is that the IRS is about to go direct as well. And it appears that the IRS will be no longer a place where you go to audit your own information. It looks like it will be going direct audit, meaning everything will be going through track and trace, surveil everything you spend all the time. They want your biometrics coming up on the next. They tried to do it last time. There's also some speculation that now remember, it was BlackRock that proposed all this. Then we were hit with COVID. Then everyone went to get their PPP loans. Well, BlackRock and the Fed were in cahoots in giving everyone their $1,200 checks. But you had to go on and sign up for it. And there's some speculation that when you went on and signed up for your free money, you know, you always say, David, anything that's free, you're the product.
Yep.
Well, people are saying that when you went on, and this is speculation, to sign up for your free money from the government that you actually signed on to their blockchain.
Wow.
And the creation of the blockchain, because they've been doing this Project Hamilton and some other stuff in the behind the scenes all this time since they put this out in March to come up with a blockchain that had full transparency. We talked last week about Al Gore bragging about Climate Trace that they're implementing as well, which would be part of this digital wallet. And that would be an amount of energy and carbon that you can do every month. And
we'll put this episode down below. Mel, can I throw in something real quick? We throw this word algorithm around a lot, and I think it just kind of goes by people. But if you think about it for a moment, if you're on YouTube and you go to the homepage and there's like suggested videos, well, that's based on your history. You watch a lot of stuff about European soccer, or you like the soap opera, whatever. It starts to curate what you're interested in. It curates based on time of day, what you watch in the mornings versus what you watch at night. I've been a big fan of Pandora for a long time, music, because it's like, it makes me feel powerful, almost godlike, that I can hit a thumbs up or a thumbs down. A song comes on I don't like, I can thumbs down it. And it slowly adjusts. So we have like Abbott Brothers. When I want bluegrass music, we're doing certain stuff. When Stacy and I cook and we're doing something in the kitchen, we do have this Ella Fitzgerald station that we've curated for a long time. But if it knows the kinds of like stringed instruments or kind of voices you like, the kind of music that you like, and then if you interject, let's say in the Ella Fitzgerald, if I all of a sudden added a Michael Bublé song in there, it'll start working in a little more. It's like if it can do that with the sounds and the way a music note can impact your emotion, if they know you so well that they can tweak a song to affect your emotion based on what you have already responded to, they know if you like almond milk and where you shop and what you're doing, and the likelihood of your ability to resist not even their physical attack, but their cyber attack, their MK Ultra attack. They know who you are. They know you better than you do. And you know what? They've been telling us that they know you better than you do, and they brag about it. Listen to Harari. These clips are easy to find. If they can curate your music, they can curate what you think. And they're doing it. You've got to wake up and you got to unplug.
Yeah, and the scary part about this and why we need to reject it full force right now, and I mean, there's a lot of people running for office. They need to know this is unacceptable. We, the people of the United States, are not going to have a foreign central bank digital currency that skips our privacy, that doesn't respect our privacy. We don't need this, first of all. We need a nationalized bank. And I honestly believe that it's going to be up to the states to reject the ESG score nonsense that is being proven every day to be a total fraud, just to make BlackRock and all their friends at the World Economic Forum a ton of money. Just like the Build Back Better bill is all about them making money. But I'll tell you something else. This is also about behavior modification, and it's about the haves, which are a global oligarchy that are running all of our countries in the G20, while the people have not. They have no freedom, no privacy, nothing. Because this is a token that will be, when you talk about algorithm, the other part is, you need to know, is that who he's involving in this, a big part of this is to strengthen international law enforcement cooperating for detecting, investigating, and prosecuting criminal activity. Okay? Criminal activity right now to the World Economic Forum, the Biden administration, the UN, the FBI, the DOJ, the NSA is domestic terrorists that love God and country and believe our Constitution and Bill of Rights matter. You know, right now, voting for Donald Trump means that you're some kind of domestic terrorist. That could be criminal activity. The algorithm will be all about the ESG score. Who you donate money to will be in there.
Oh, yeah.
What you buy, what kind of car you have, how much gas you buy, if you travel, if you have a small business. And I'll tell you guys something else. The biggest lie of the Build Back Better bill, why everyone should be furious, is because if you have an LLC or an S Corp, you are first on the list. And I am also saying that the IRS and all of these people internationally, federal banking, Federal Reserve, are coming up with a way to audit you without your input, okay? And once that happens, they will be taking money from your account, but just like they do in China. If you're caught smoking a cigarette in a public place that you're not supposed to be smoking, you will get $500 taken out of your bank account. This is not. They have already put in
Yeah.
50 million.
This isn't future. This isn't future.
No, it's starting to
Not
sound more like
future.
China all
This
the
is
time.
this is like the weather today. This is current.
Mhm.
They're kicking it in, and it's already in Canada too, whether the Canadian people know it yet or not. It is.
They do. A lot of them do.
And it's coming here. But I want you to know that they also have an FBI division. We're all right now really, really feeling positive about the FBI. They have an FBI division for virtual assets unit housed in the financial crimes division sector that would be monitoring the central bank digital currency usage. They have a transnational high-tech crime global law enforcement network. So all of this, the Financial Action Task Force, these are new agencies that don't exist yet. International Organization of Securities Commissions. All these people are going to have access to this stuff. That's what I say to people when they say, well, it'll be great. If somebody has diabetes, you put on this thing, you put it inside you, it gives you your insulin or it tracks you and this and that. Yeah, fine. I understand that sounds like a benefit to humanity, but who else is getting your information?
Right.
And what else are they tracking?
Yep.
And what can they do with that? Because everyone's got to understand all of the technology they're talking about that they tell us about. On my shows with Mike L, we just say it all the time. They are 20 years ahead.
Mhm.
They have been working on this stuff for a very long time. So if you go back to what really happened in 2008, 2009, and see the globalist push for a one world currency, they just needed the technology to catch up. So they have the track, trace, and compliance and behavior modification, which now they have. So, people can be out there and say this isn't going to happen. It's really up to us because, again, Atlantic Council, another one, Trilateral Commission, CFR, they're all talking about this.
Yep.
Okay.
Again, you can get all these images by texting in 40509, the word Mel, every image. If you're listening on Apple or Podbean or someplace like that, all of these images that, again, you can share, you can use to wake people up, 40509, the word Mel. We're arming you. We're in this together. This isn't us educating or entertaining you. It's us partnering together. You've got to share this stuff.
Yep. Each person doing something.
And I want you guys to know, at the World Economic Forum 22, and we have to remember who was there. Obviously, Biden, Blinken, Sullivan, they're all in cahoots with them. We got Eric Schmidt, we got John Kerry, we got Al Gore, we got Bloomberg, we got all these people involved with the World Economic Forum. Think, of course, is on the board. But you also need to know that they are all in on digital identity system that I'm talking about. We really have to reject this. A lot of people downloaded those Excelsior Pass, IBM backed, who were also behind the tagging of humans during World War II, IBM backed track and trace. These were just entry points to get into your system, to get you used to it, behavior modification, getting people to follow blindly whatever the government says for the good of us and our fellow man. That is not what's going on here. Look, so they're all partners in this. Global governance. If people do not understand that the World Economic Forum's website is telling you that they are running a one world government without your consent.
Yep.
They've taken over all of our countries, especially the United States at this point. They have placed Biden in there. Obama's been in on it from the beginning before he was chosen to be the successor. And now they have this International Data Corporation Digital Trust, okay, out there that says there are trillions of dollars in opportunities for the stakeholders and the public-private partnership of the World Economic Forum that will come from the digitalization of banking and identification, but that there's that they need a higher level of digital trust and universal values to unlock the potential. And this has a lot to do with misinformation, disinformation, the great narrative, all of that. So they know that they need to convince the people. There's a lot of evidence here of psychological operations and all of that they used COVID for this. I believe that we're going to all find out at some point, God willing, that all of it, including the pandemic, is part of this whole situation. And it was planned a long time ago. And really what we're seeing is that, so they put out a whole thing on the World Economic Forum about nudging, Cass Sonstein, propaganda, people into believing that this is for their own good.
Kind of like the Patriot Act.
You need to review. I can't. Written 2 years before 9/11, folks.
I know.
I think we've talked about it before, but that needs to be repealed too. We
Yeah.
got to take back this country. The only rule of law in America should be the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, and the Judeo-Christian values that this country was born on.
Yep.
And you know what? A lot of people lately. We did a whole show on the secular Democrats. I saw Dum Dum Swalwell. He's on the council. He's on the Foreign Relations Committee at the fair for 3 years with a Chinese spy. But
doesn't affect his job status.
Oh yeah, yeah,
but not at all. Why would it? Why would it? The Chinese Communist Party is helping run this country. We're getting their track and trace social credit score, and TikTok's going to help the Democrats overthrow the election. But I do want to say that they keep conflating church and state, and what that's really about. No, church and state is about protecting the individual from the government, not the government from the Bible and religion. But they've manipulated it because, of course, in a communist country, which is what they're doing here, socialist communist country, you can't have God. You can only have the government be God, which is what they're trying to do right now. And once they control your money, they control your ability to buy food, to travel, to heat your home, to start a business, to get insurance, to get health care. If they control the money through the central bank digital currency wallet. Well, friends,
there's only one throne, and if our God is on it, then they can't be. They got to be there. Right. There's only one throne, only one can be sitting on it, and they're threatened by that, so they got to remove it.
Yeah, this is communism 101, folks. It's happened throughout history over and over. But I do want you guys to know that Trudeau is implementing all of this openly. He's implementing the global ID system as talked about by the World Economic Forum, the Digital Identity Program, to streamline all of your information. This is not for the humans, okay? This is for them, but it looks like both Canada and Australia have already started it. Here's the craziest part, and we'll end on this. I keep telling people what is really going on in Ukraine, who is benefiting from Ukraine. It ain't the Ukrainian people, and they are victims and pawns in this world order situation, as is all the money and the war and the NATO. But I do want to say that both Israel and the Ukraine have been we're the first two countries to universally get the vaccine without consent, if you recall. But and that was alarming. We all watched it. I don't think a lot of people were paying attention to that it was happening in Ukraine. But then they were also all forced to go get the QR codes and the vaccine passports in both those countries. Well, Ukraine was also chosen to be the first country to implement, and this is in 2019, folks, universal basic income, World Economic Forum digital ID, vaccine passport without the consent of the governed. Okay, so Ukraine was the first one to implement all of this stuff that that they're proposing for the world under the digital ID, central bank digital currency, vaccine passport, universal basic income, one wallet, digital identity. So that is what people in Ukraine were forced into before the war. Also, Australia and New Zealand joined as well. And all of these places. So it turns out that Ukraine has already implemented the social credit system, central bank digital currency into their country. And there is a lot going on in Ukraine in terms of technology, the Green New Deal studies and biolab studies, and a whole lot of things are happening in Ukraine that are all, it looks like that they're testing their hypothesis for all of this implementation in Ukraine right now.
Wow.
And I really think people need to understand that Ukraine is being used. First of all, it's in the center of Europe. Mm-hmm. Second of all, its people are not free. They haven't been free, mm-hmm. you know, and there's a lot of struggle inside there. But it appears that all of the stuff that we are talking about has been being implemented in Ukraine well before Russia. They crossed the red line with Russia, and right. And Zelensky, which nobody's talking about, told the entire World Economic Forum, you can take Ukraine and do what you want as long as the IMF gives me $6 billion, which is what happened in 2014 and after. And now we're watching it unfold in real time. that a country is being completely taken over. At this point, I think the IMF and the United States and NATO own Ukraine. So what are we doing?
Yeah.
We really need to wake up here. So I just wanted everyone to understand this executive order.
So
is
important.
Mel, I'm going to give a call to action to make sure people know what to do, because
Yeah.
there's two groups of people here. There's haves and have-nots. And if you're watching this, you're a have-not. Nothing personal. I don't care if you've done well, you own a heating air conditioning company and you have $1 million in savings.
You're a
You are
have-not.
a have-not. You go, well, I have a lake house and a boat. You are a have-not. You are just cannon fodder in the way of a small group of
Yep.
somewhere, I would say, between 300 and Mel says 3,000 people.
Yeah.
That have their hands on the levers of control. There are things we can do. The world can be crazy. Your world does not have to be. You can resist. You can push back. You can peacefully non-comply. There are actionable steps to take. Every week we cover something that you can do.
Yep.
Because when you do, you know what? Fear dissipates. When you stop, fear increases. And so you have to be thinking, what's a step I can take? What's a step I can take? Otherwise, your mind, your heart, your space begins to be overtaken by fear. And I guarantee you, this is the last episode we do. They don't want this message out. Every time we do a show, it's a week by week basis. Every time we get on these microphones, it's borrowed time. There are concentrated forces to stop this message. You have to know, if this is the last time you hear us talk, what are you going to do to make a difference and take some control of the space that God put you in this timeline, the dirt you're standing on and the timeline and where you're at? You have to take some action. What's the call to action this week?
Well, I think first thing what you said is really important. So far, I think not in 2008, but so far, I think a lot of people that have hundreds of thousands of dollars or have small businesses that generate good income have been relatively unscathed so far, unless they're in the food industry or transportation. But I'm talking about, they are on the list, okay? It is $400,000 and less in income are going to be targeted. A. B, this is not your regular IRS. They are hired under the executive order on diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're not hiring the best mathematicians and accountants, because I believe that the IRS, through all of this stuff and the investment, is going direct. And your accounting and your auditing and everything will be done by a computer that is controlled by the central bank digital currency folk, which will be controlled out of Switzerland, and the Bank of International Settlements will be the head of it. So first things first, we need to make sure that every one of our elected officials hears from us, and don't think it doesn't matter, because it does. A lot of them are up for re-election in November. We have to stand strong and convince people that it's better to have a job and purpose than it is to live on universal basic income, because their life is essentially over in terms of them making any choices for their future, for their health, for their children, for their ability to prosper or to get out of wherever they are. A. B, the states have a lot more ability. We are not a democracy. We are not democracy rules. When they talk about what they're doing to democracy, I assure you that these people, especially the puppet masters, are talking about New York and California and some little pockets in between, Aspen, Potomac, maybe Palm Beach area, wherever these people live, the Hamptons, Sun Valley, wherever they are. They're not, when they talk about democracy being affected, they're talking about them and their people. What they don't care about is that we're a constitutional republic. So this is where it gets important. You got to go to your local, your county, your city council, your local state legislature. You have to tell them in writing campaigns, in showing up, we will not go into central bank digital currency. We will not accept an ESG social credit score. We will not have the state watching us at every move for a supposed climate emergency or some created pandemic, so that you can turn America into a top-down controlled experiment that will end up worse than, if you ask the IMF, Venezuela. So state, but they can also start controlled banking. Yep. We should really all also be very careful with the idea that that anything that's going forward is not about money. because they're gonna try a couple things again. I was on a great show last night with a bunch of doctors talking about the next phase of the pandemic, and they're not done with it. And then the climate emergency, and then they're getting nervous about the election and losing power, obviously. So we really just need to figure out how to get to every local official, especially if they're running, and get in their faces, show up and say, if you're not against the central bank digital currency and leaving our autonomy and our privacy and our freedom to do what we will with our money without being seen by a big brother that is a foreign entity controlled by billionaire bankers, then I'm not voting for you. And you need to tell every single person, people have to show up in the next 3 months in the faces of everyone that's running and get them to disavow the central bank digital currency, disavow the bogus ESG score, and start debating it with them. And also on top of that, I think we really need to start pushing for audits for everyone in Congress and Senate, everyone in DC that's on the federal bench. Something is going on. A lot of money is missing. It is our money. It has been stolen from us. And we, the people of the United States, need to know where our money is, because the amount of money that the people in Washington, D.C. made over the last 2.5 years should be alarming to everyone. But the amount of money that we have transferred to the private Western Central Bank, Davos, IMF, World Bank, and the international monetary funds, all where their tentacles are, is in the trillions of dollars. And that's our money, and none of it is going to help America or any of our countries. The entire G20, I believe, has been usurped and captured by this small group of billionaires and trillionaires. And you got to reject it. But we got 3 months to really get in people's faces. Get out there to people that do not vote. You know, we talked about it last time. Joe that doesn't vote, he doesn't care, whatever. Joe's going to care when his bank account becomes digital without him wanting it to in December. And all of a sudden they say, well, now you have programmable tokens, and we'll turn off your money if you do anything we don't like, because you might be a domestic terrorist or a Christian national or voted for Donald Trump or bought a gun or whatever they want. Just read the language. It's them deciding it. The people that are in office right now who just illegally raided Donald Trump in front of the whole world.
Yes.
You're next.
It's sports. You know, people give me a hard time sometimes. I got my bobblehead here, and they're like, "Oh, that's cheesy" or whatever. You know what? It's because we call out these scumbags every single day. And when you got somebody good, we were just at an event this last Saturday with you know, the Mike held in Springfield, and you know what? You might like Mike Lindell, you don't. Maybe you got a pillow, maybe you don't. I think he's pretty incredible. How do you make a business out of selling pillows? When he started the company, everybody already had one.
I know.
You know, the guy's a hard worker. You got to work hard to make money selling something everybody already had one of, right?
Yep.
But you know, it's just unbelievable that you could do it. It'd be the last thing I would choose to make a living doing. But he did it with a great company taking care of his people. You know when his people have a death in the family or something, they're like, well, is it next to kin? Is it your father or mother? It could be a close friend. He's going to give you paid time off to go to the funeral. Like, he takes care of his people. I hear these stories because I talk to people that work there. But here's the reason I bring it up. He held this event this past weekend. Yeah, I celebrate. I've never even met him. You know, and he's never even come on our show. You know, it's like I love the guy because he's putting his money where his mouth is. And here's the reason I'm kind of going on a Mike Lindell rant. He just supported this movie Selection Code. He put it out for free. This event he held in Springfield, he paid for the convention center. He did not charge $1 for a ticket. He provided food for everybody that was there. I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 people or something for 2 days. Like food, salad, like real, not bologna, like real food for 2 days. Coffee, sodas, everything, because he wanted them there because he wants them to get free in their mind and spread this message. When you get the good guys, you got to celebrate it. We're going to put in the notes down below the link to Selection Code. We have to have this information because we got to stop these fraudulent selections and have real elections. These people that have taken these spots, they're the ones doing this stuff to you that we call out every single week. So we'll put a link to that. You can go watch the documentary. He put the whole thing available. Streamed it, like RSBN had it, and it's on Frank's Speech and stuff. But it was a 2-day event. If you just watch the last hour and a half, 2 hours of it, he has some groundbreaking information, but we've got to carry that message out. You got to take this show that we just did with Mel, share it out. The one that we did last week, take it, share it out. We have to be in this together, you guys, and get this information to people. Together, we can all be smart and we can win.
And then not just hear it, but take action.
Yes.
Do these 4 action steps that Mel gave. Actually do it. and then encourage other people to do the same
and
thing.
Get out of the banks. If you're with Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or Chase, and everything goes wrong, I don't want to hear from you. You know what? Because you were a part of the problem. You participated and funded your own demise. So pound sand. I don't want to hear from you ever. Okay.
Yeah.
That's something you can do, and it's free. You know what? You'll save a lot of money by going to some local credit union. Okay. It's actually in your best interest.
Yep.
Some local bank.
Start thinking about talking to the governors about state chartered banks. They can do it. They can say no ESG score. If you're doing the ESG score thing, you can't do business in my state. The governors have that power. And one last thing about Mike Lindell, don't forget his bank accounts are all shut off because of his beliefs.
Yes.
He's in this with us.
It can happen to anyone. And most small business owners are like Mike Lindell. I believe they're way more good than bad.
Yes.
And if you are a patriot and you are a good business owner and you are making a lot of money, they are coming for you. Okay. So just everyone needs to be really proactive and keep the international Western Central private banks out of our business, out of our privacy, out of our track and trace surveillance. Reject it all. You know, they're going to propose it as something that's helpful and good for you and convenient. It's the opposite. It is the end of freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the way you see fit for you and your family going forward. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Mel.
This is more call to action. And to when people say this can't happen in America, you say, really? I believed that 5 years ago. No, I don't believe that at all.
That's right.
If they could do it to Donald Trump, they could do it to all of us.
For more great content, go to flyoverconservatives.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I want to give each and every one of you one last chance to get my original My Slippers. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen now. Use your promo code and you'll get your very own My Slippers for only $49.98. That's $90 off and the biggest savings ever. What makes My Slippers different is my exclusive 4-layer design that you won't find in any other slippers. My Slippers' patented layers make them ultra comfortable, extremely durable, and they help reduce stress on your feet. Not only that, they come with an indoor-outdoor sole so you can wear them anytime, anywhere. I guarantee they'll be the most comfortable slippers you'll ever own. And now you can get them for the best savings ever, only $49.98. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen now to get your very own My Slippers for only $49.98. That's $90 off. We have extremely low quantities, and once they're gone, they're gone. So order now.